You gave them two options. You were crystal clear about which one was right. They chose the other one anyway. You walk out thinking, client's choice, let's see if they complain later. Here's the thing that should bother you. They weren't confused. They weren't ignoring you. They heard every word you said. So why didn't it change anything? There's a second part to every communication. Most technical people know it exists. They just think using it means watering down the signal. Here's what it actually does. Communication has two layers, the signal and the encoding layer. The signal is the technical truth, the recommendation, the facts, and the encoding is what makes it arrive correctly at the receiver. In engineering, we use error correction, channel coding, to make sure the signal doesn't get garbled in transmission. Without it, the signal degrades regardless of how clean the source is. Think of it like a gift. The signal is the gift. The encoding is the wrapping around it. Both matter. A beautifully wrapped empty box is worthless. But an unwrapped gift handed to someone in a pile of other things? They might not even realize what they're holding. I learned this the hard way. I had a client who wanted to keep old equipment in a room we were rebuilding. Sustainability reasons. I got it. But the processor had no source code, no editable version, ever. I knew what that meant. Harder programming, a nightmare to manage later. The clean answer was a full rebuild. They could even redeploy the old gear properly somewhere else. Technically, what they wanted would still work, so I gave them both options. But I laid out every reason why the rebuild was the better option. They kept the equipment anyway. I put every caveat in the proposal, every gap, every assumption, documented, watertight. I told myself that was thorough communication. I only understood much later that I was just encoding for myself. I had given them the right signal, but the wrong encoding. Where I come from, saying something once clearly is a form of respect. You don't repeat yourself, you don't over-explain. That would be patronizing. I cared about the gift, the quality of what's inside. And I think the cultural default has something right about that. But some people only care about the wrapping. And that's a problem too. A decoded signal that's only noise is worthless. The gap isn't on one side, it's between them. Most technical people treat this as optional, as the sales guy's job. It's not, it's infrastructure. Without it, the signal degrades in transit regardless of how right you are. There's one specific question that changes the encoding instantly. I'll show you exactly how to use it in step 3. What is the one thing that must land? Not 10 true things. 1. Strip anything else away. If you can't say it in one sentence, you probably haven't found it yet. You must find the gift before you even think about the wrapping. You can't wrap intentionally if you don't know what you're wrapping. Getting the signal naked is the hardest part for an expert. But once you do, finding the frame in step 2 becomes automatic. What do they care about? What does failure look like for them, not for you? My client cared about sustainability. That was their value, but I presented against it instead of inside it. The right wrapping would have been, in 12 months, when something breaks, you can't fix it quickly. You're dependent on specialists every time. That's the real sustainability cost. Same gift, different wrapping, encoded for them, not for me. Finding the frame is the prep work. Step 3 is the actual engineering. I promised you one question that changes the encoding instantly. Here it is. What's the one consequences they will hate the most? Find that, make it concrete, make it arrive before it happens. This is not manipulation. Manipulation hides the signal. This makes it unmissable. The wrapping is transparent. They still see exactly what's inside. Now they can't ignore the weight of it. You're not becoming a salesperson. You're engineering the delivery, not changing the truth. Let me tell you the rest of the story, the proposal with every caveat documented. The site survey we had to do was painful. The programming was painful, but not as much as I expected. Because the programmer could see I tried. He'd worked with the client before and he knew how stubborn they could be. My documentation protected him. I encoded for him accidentally. I had the right gift the whole time. I just encoded for the wrong person. Imagine doing that intentionally for the client before the decision. That's the gap. Now you see where it is. Client's choice, but only if they actually see what they're choosing. If this is your way of thinking, approaching human problems as an engineer, that's what Connectively is. Come back next Friday.